A man stands blindfolded before the firing squad. Someone asks him, would he like to have a cigarette? The doomed man replies, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. The man found humor in facing death. And this friendly anecdote was brought to you by our own inimitable Kevin Coffey, a young gentleman who, since his inception with us in 2010, has contributed a treasure trove of personality, knowledge, talent, song, wit, and humor. We are continuously enriched by your presence. Kevin, will you please stand? I was honored to receive the invitation to speak by Reverend Terence Strauss. I knew my old sermons as a fundamentalist preacher would not play in Peoria. But I could just open up a can of one of my highly charged UU speeches accumulated since 1968. But the Reverend Strauss suggested a topic for me. Suggested meant, as Nike would say, just do it. Her wish is my command. And so I gathered fresh produce from my garden. Consequently, through blood, sweat, toil, and tears, I now give you my finished product. Smile away frowns, laugh away tears. Now, do you have to be reminded of the sorrow, despair, and agony in the world? Do you ever just look yourself in a mirror and ask, how did I ever make it this far? Think of all the physical and emotional pain you have endured at home, in school, at work, at play, in parenting, in friendships lost, in love, in marriage, in divorce, in sickness, in depression, in auto and other accidents, in trying to make ends meet, in death of loved ones, human and animal. How are you and I still breathing? Instead of Unitarians, we could just become futilitarians. That is, those considering human hopes vain, human strivings unjustified. The whole design of Mother Nature's world appears structured around suffering and death. One species devours another, billions of them even as I speak. In a biomass, a pyramidal food chain. Only recently we humans have enthroned ourselves at the top. We can get dethroned. Before they could be stopped in 1898, 2 lions stalked and ate alive 135 Indian and African men who were building a bridge over Kenya's River Savo. We must taste good. Now, how can we deal with the downturns, pitfalls, setbacks, the fiery trials we must endure? These things will happen even if you never leave your house. My beloved grandmother Jones, in her 80s, sought to deal with her falling problem by something very simple. Go to bed and stay there. I pled with her not to do this. As I predicted, her bones and body atrophied. Her life quality sank to the bottom. With life so tough, how can one expect to smile instead of cry? How inappropriate to insert laughter amidst sorrow? Can it ever be done fittingly? My sweet, charming, and able massage therapist in Monticello, Georgia, said that probably child abuse would always be off limits to humor in her view. I agree. For example, I could never resort to humor regarding the caged children at our Mexican border. The real Shakespeare, whoever he, and now they're saying possibly she was, would occasionally insert humor in the midst of tragedies, some Shakespearean relief. In the only UUCA underground theater play in which I was an actor, another man and I played a similar role. This was a forlorn play, Stage Door, first presented here in November 1974. Now, the apartment was for stage actresses, and he and I had arranged dates sight unseen with two of these actresses. We were both in casual attire, hoping to take the girls to some nearby diner. The girls were expecting debonair gentlemen, dressed in tuxedos, ready to take them fine dining. The ensuing confrontation gave the audience that needed laugh. About 3 minutes later, we did our exeunt. My acting career was over, quit while I was ahead. Sometimes direct, straight up, unadorned joking and banter can help sadness. Recently, I was the only man present amidst 5 women in a meeting right here in this building, and I told them about my wife Emmylou and I visiting our friend Les McGuckin. Les was grimly facing dialysis. I told Les that I hoped he would undergo this trying procedure without giving up, as had 2 of my childhood friends. Les smiled and said he would not give up because he had a new woman friend. Now, this provoked Miss Mary Moore, name used by permission, she's here today, to ask me when a man finally gives up on the idea of sex. She said that it's only after he's been dead about 2 weeks. And you thought church committee meetings were boring. Since the meeting had sunk to this level, I related a discovery made by author Mary Roach in doing research for her book, Stiff, The Expert's Dealings with Death and Cadavers. She learned that just before a man draws his last breath, he attains a significant expansion in a private part of his anatomy. The lesson is, using an adjective from the 40s, go out with a swell exit. Les, my friend, since 1973, would have loved this scene. Now, another example of Shakespearean relief is that of sarcasm. Emmylou and I meet with a pleasant group of UUs many Thursday mornings for breakfast at the Galaxy Diner. On the wall of this special place is the sign that reads, "We serve sarcasm with our meals." They also provide a complaint receptacle saying, "Complaint box, take a number." The stress and sorrows of serving us needs comic relief. I never speak or act rudely to those serving me food. Those are the people who can spit in your food when you're not looking. And also among hordes of jobs with lots of negative feedback are occupied by those who work on your automobile. In the shop where I get my emission inspections is a sign on their wall that says, "Minimum charge, $55 per hour. If you watch, $60 an hour. If you help, $70 an hour. If you tried to fix it yourself, $80 an hour." I also like the one that says, "I'm busy now. Can I ignore you some other time?" Now, when it comes to sarcasm, to ease pain, nothing probably can match old country lyrics, country songs. As you noted in the quartet song, Gloom, Despair, and Agony on Me, this subject was the underlying theme of the TV series Hee Haw, country music's takeoff on the 1960s TV series Laugh In. The basic message was, cry till you laugh, groan till you grin. Country songs often reeked in love gone wrong, unfaithful spouses and lovers, drowning in booze, and dead-end jobs. You have a heart of stone if you're not moved by He Stopped Loving Her Today and For the Good Times. But other titles and lines reflected sarcastic humor amidst emotional pain. In the divorce, she got the gold mine, I got the shaft. She got the ring, and I got the finger. In dealing with marital conflict, you're the reason our kids are ugly. I want you to love me like my dog. You ain't much fun since I quit drinking. And you can't have your Kate and Edith too. Thank God and Greyhound, you're gone. But none of these sarcasms can top my all-time favorite, and I think of this one. Your wife's been cheating on us again. Other examples of humorous sarcasm amidst sorrow are tombstone epitaphs like, I told you I was sick. Joke's over, let me out now. And died from not sending that text message to 10 people. In small one-bedroom, neighbors are dead quiet. Along with sarcasm, there is irony. Emmylou and I were walking near our lake house when a big car drove past us, then stopped suddenly. Out steps Zeke Zekowski, a man whose appearance and voice should have made him Anthony Zorba the Greek rather than Anthony Quinn. With a big smile and widespread hands, he announces, I have great news. I have emphysema. Emmylou and I looked at him with complete bafflement. He said, I thought I had lung cancer. Fate can almost be comical because of the irony. Take Genghis Khan. He spent years pillaging in war, violence, and merciless slaughter. How did he end up? He fell off a horse in a hunting accident. There's the great jockey Willie Shoemaker, a riding career spanning from 1949 to 1990, riding in 40,350 races. In the book, Seabiscuit, the author describes the horrendous hazards of the horse jockey, with some taking 200 or more falls in their career. How did Willie Shoemaker die? From complications from a car accident. Former partner Franklin Pope, Thomas Edison's partner, electrocuted himself while wiring his own house, proving to many that electricity was too dangerous even for experts. Now that I've turned 80, I hear and engage more in humor related to aging. I first have to congratulate myself for reaching this milestone. Only over half of my 24 contemporary kin have already died, my cousins. Getting old is not for sissies. But as Jackie Gleason once said, how sweet it is. One might as well swim with the tide. I was given the name Old Sterile Gerald way back from my friends of years ago. I can take it, and I can give it. I often heard the old deputy administrator of my office say to his audience in his smoker's voice, "I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm good once as I ever was." He would also say, "We don't have as much fun as we used to, but the fun we do have is a whole lot funnier." Now, if you're fortunate enough to get old, why not just have some laughter related to it? How can it hurt? It may be the only thing you have left. Now, when it comes to irony that can approach the humorous, none can beat that of traditional religion. In 1277, Bishop Tempier of Paris, acting on the permission of Pope John the 21st, published a list of 219 errors and heresies that were to be condemned. Among the heresies was the idea that nature follows laws, because this conflicts with God's omnipotence. Interestingly, Pope John was killed by the effects of nature's law of gravity a few months later when the roof of his palace fell in on him. How can I not smile grimly when the Ten Commandments are sought to be enshrined in government with an unsavory mixture of religion and state? Moses included "you shall not kill" in commandments, then followed this by ordering the complete extermination of everyone in the land of Canaan, and that included the Amorites east of the Jordan. And when some of his young soldiers balked on butchering the captive women and children, their aging leader says, "Go back out there and finish the job I told you to do." How can I not be totally amused and entertained by the biblical Solomon, who as Israel's king amassed for himself 1,000 very frustrated wives and concubines? But listen to his words written in Ecclesiastes, quote, "I discovered what is more bitter than death, woman. Only one man in 1,000 could I respect, but not a single woman. Woman's love is just a trap binding you in chains," unquote. Yes, trapped and bound by 1,000 women. Poor Solomon. I must read with a rueful smile when the Christian scriptures introduce the basis of their religion as the human sacrifice of the gentle rabbi of Nazareth, whom most Unitarians hold in great esteem to this day. Every religion needs reforming from its beginning tenets. And Jesus was advancing some radical, badly needed changes to Mosaic doctrine. And this got him killed. Subsequently, his disciples deified him and converted his execution at the hands of the Roman authorities into a sacrifice God the Father had planned for his Son. Human sacrifice was ringingly condemned throughout the Hebrew Scriptures. Now it is presented in the Christian era as the ultimate expression of heavenly love, the only way by which God's wrath would be appeased for the sins of humankind. Now, instead, I would humbly suggest to this God, just do as we all have to do when we have been offended, disappointed, or violated. Just get over it. We should be so very, very over the idea conceived by primitive humans where an imaginary supernatural deity or deities have to be sacrificing other species or one of the same species in order to make them happy. We should be so over being washed in blood or drinking the blood of a human Savior. This is sadly on par with me to those who close their ears and eyes to the mountain of evidence concerning evolution. As I told my old fundamentalist friend up in Indiana, a woman conversing with a snake in a mystical garden is not real good evidence. How can I not laugh at the idea of eternal hellfire awaiting all who do not believe and obey the traditional Christian message? Neither Father Abraham nor Moses knew anything of this. Scholars say this idea probably sprang from Zoroastrianism and picked up by the Israelites while they were in Persian captivity. Salvation from everlasting fire became the Christian doctrine, amusingly called the gospel, which means good news. This is the epitome of irony. Islam's holy book also readily adopted the same fate, where not only were those disbelieving the prophet's message to be sent to eternal flames, they were to be dragged face down by hairs of their head and thrown therein. What will the saved in paradise be doing? They will be lounging on couches, but in full view and earshot of those suffering. And what are they going to do? They're going to be mocking them and laughing at them. Some way to spend in paradise. Eternal punishment for temporal sins is so ridiculous that even the Church of England officially abolished hell by an act of the Synod in the 1920s. It is a hell of a ridiculous idea. I can smile and be cheered knowing that so many of our Jewish, Christian, and Islamic friends, neighbors, countrymen, and world citizens have evolved beyond these crude, primitive, and negative concepts that are so anachronistic to our more enlightened times. We can all still exult in our heritage and institutions, finding comfort, encouragement, connectivity without all the baggage of the past. Even we Unitarians have some history we wish we never had. Life, when considered comprehensively, seems to be on average balanced mix of good and bad, happy and sad, joy and sorrow. Many things can help us through the hard, sad times, and among them can be humor. Laughter is the best medicine, said Reader's Digest. So many people I know and have known were dealt a bad hand of cards even from birth. And some of these same people have approached life with upbeat attitudes. They chose not to live life bathed in bitterness. Our Project Phoenix seems mired in the gloom of having wonderfully found the place most people wanted, but not near enough money to fix it up for habitation and use. When you paint yourself in a corner, just smile, relax, and plan wisely while the paint dries. It will take love, knowledge, skills, and experience of our membership, generosity, kindness, forbearance, plus good humor to dig our way out of this. And so in conclusion, find some humor amidst life's tribulations. Let us give ourselves and others the gift of a reason to smile. Find some appropriate and timely, direct humor, sarcasm, or irony that will make both for ourselves and others a better world. Any relief we can find or give in this vale of tears should be met with gratitude.